Hey YouTube, what is up? I was able to get my hands on the Rokket structure deck, and unfortunately I was going to open it live on this video for you guys, but it was weird. I could kind of hear the deck rattling around in there, so when I opened it up, I noticed that the plastic on the top, I'll pull it up over here, was actually already open and kind of nicked. I don't know if you could see that, but basically it kind of came already damaged. The cards aren't in that bad a shape or anything like that, but they do all have like a machining line on them, which kind of does suck, and I just wanted to point it out before I get really into the video. You can see it's like kind of on the top. They all have like almost like a notch right over here, which is kind of disappointing. Nobody ever likes to get cards that are already damaged. One of the cards also had like a big scratch across the front of it too, which is kind of weird. So I'm just kind of disappointed in that. I had a friend that also bought one of these, and the box was actually empty, and luckily enough he was able to return it because we all saw it happen like pretty much right in front of us. And on top of that, there's another person I know that bought one of these, and the Zeroboros. There we go. The Zeroboros dragon that's on the cover wasn't even in the pack. It was just basically gone. So if you do buy these, do be careful because apparently the quality control on them is not necessarily the greatest this time around. But with that being said, I decided to break this video down a little bit more than most people do with these structure decks. Basically, I feel like there's a lot of good cards in this, but there's also some bad cards, and that's basically the way I'm breaking it down. These are the cards I think that are not the greatest. These are the cards that I think don't necessarily need to be put in your deck. And then these are the cards that I think are good or have some meta relevance. So let's go with the bad cards first, just so we can get that out of the way. I'm not even going to try and pronounce that, but I think it's Rokket. Not a good card. I don't really think it matters. Checksum Dragon. Don't think it matters. Exploder Rokket Dragon. Rokket Recharger. Let me just fix the focus here so it actually stays on these cards. Shell Rokket Dragon. Metal Rokket Dragon. Gateway Dragon. Background Dragon. Just stay in the background. Labrador Dragon, nobody needs a vanilla. Felgrand, another Felgrand. For some reason, they decided to reprint a lot of the cards from the Felgrand structure deck in this. There's actually like 4 to I think 6 cards that are like the Felgrand structure. Kind of weird, but it is what it is, I guess. Keep it the Shrine, you don't really need. Raiden, definitely don't need. Boral Supplier, definitely don't need. Rapid Trigger. Boral Regenerator. Runes of the Dragon, that's another just dragon card that they decided to throw in for some reason. Execute Protocol. Link Turret. Mirror Force Launcher. Polymerization. This is kind of alright, to be honest. I mean, it's not necessarily the greatest card, but it is a okay card. It has some nostalgic value, I guess, more than these other cards do. Same for Mirror Force and same for Magic Cylinder. I guess you can actually use Magic Cylinder in competitive play, but, you know, it's not really an actual card that's going to come up all that often. If you get hit with Magic Cylinder, it's more of a meme than anything else. That's why I decided to include it in the bad pile. But with that being said, let's move these out of the way now, because we went through the cards that don't necessarily matter from the structure deck, and go to the cards that I think do. So, for the generic cards that come in the structure deck that I think are pretty good, first up is Twin Twisters, just generic good spell and trap removal. Imperial Order, I think this card is actually going to be more relevant now that Sky Strikers is getting a boost because of Dark Ruler No More. If you don't know what that card does, it's a new spell card coming out in the Megatons, which basically just says, negate all monster effects on the field for the turn that your opponent controls, and they can't respond with monster effects. So, Sky Striker is going to be a bigger danger, and this is probably one of the only ways some decks can actually respond. So Imperial Order, just negate their spells. Red Reboot is good, but not necessarily in this format. There's not too many trap-heavy decks, but it is a great card against any trap matchup in general. Against Altergeist, this is the one card that shut me down every time. It's just such an oppressive card. Defrag Dragon, it's a good reprint. We've needed it. It's not that hard to get, but it is a common card that's kind of annoying to try and find, especially because, you know, just compared to its price, is not really worth looking for necessarily. It's probably one of those cards you can pick up for like $1 on TCG and you don't mind paying the extra, like 3 times the amount of the cost of the card for the shipping, just because you might need it. Good card, good effect, just it's an okay reprint. Return of the Dragon Lords, not necessarily the most generic support. It is obviously dragons, but I think this card did need a reprint, especially because a lot of people are getting back into the game. A lot of people I know are surprisingly building Blue Eyes Guard Dragon as a way to get into links and understand the format a little better. And this is one of the cards that they might need. Return of the Dragon Lords wasn't necessarily the easiest card to find, and if you didn't get it from the original structure or the Legendary Collection Kaiba, you might be, you know, facing a Return of the Dragon Lords drought. So I'm glad they kind of reprinted in this one, to be honest. Same for Dragon Shrine. This card does have some relevance, especially with the name of it's escaping me right now. The Dark Worm Pendulum. It does have some relevance with that, as well as Blue Eyes, as well as this deck in general. Just a lot of dragon support in general that they're putting in this. It's not bad, not necessarily needed though. World Chalice Guard Dragon is actually a really good card that I'm surprised they put in here. I completely forgot about it, and I actually probably should have included it in my top 10. It's just a good card in general. If you have this card in your graveyard, you can basically banish to special summon a Vanilla Dragon. In Blue Eyes, that's pretty much what I use it for. There are a couple other applications for it, but that's really the main use. Zero Day Blast is the first Rokket related card that I think is pretty decent. I didn't really pay attention to this card too much, but it is basically just a dragon or a Dark Dragon Link related version of Salamangreat Rage. Basically, I think you tribute. Just don't want to misread this right here. There we go. Yeah, you tribute one Dark Link monster, and you get to pop cards in the field up to its Link rating. So unlike Salamangreat Rage, where you target a card in the field, this one does have the tribute, and it's not searchable, so it's not as good, but it is very similar. Auto Rocket Dragon, pretty good rocket monster in general. Not necessarily the greatest or anything like that, but it's one of the better ones. Rocket Synchron is good, but mostly only in Japan because of what Japan uses, which is the basically like the Crystalline Needle Fiber full giant combo of Dragon Link that they have over there. We're not going to have that here, so this card is not necessarily needed. It is a good card in general, but because we don't have the Needle Fiber play, you don't need to play a tuner, and you don't have to summon this one off quick launch. You could summon like Silver Rocket or Rocket Tracer. Also, this card did come with a big old scratch right across the top. You kind of see it right there. Kind of unfortunate that we're getting these cards damaged out of these sealed products, but it is what it is. The next card, Boot Sector Launch, pretty good field spell. Squib Draw, a pretty decent card in general, especially if you're building just a Rocket deck and not necessarily Dragon Links. Quick Launch is broken even if you're building just a Dragon Link deck, because this basically just allows you to special summon any Rocket from your deck, and some of the new Rockets do have some pretty good effects. Magna Rocket Dragon, just also another decent Rocket Dragon. Its effect isn't all that broken or anything like that, but it's one of the better ones. Absolute Dragon I like because you can special summon it from your hand if you control a Rocket monster. Silver Rocket Dragon I like because if you use this card's effect on your opponent's turn, because it is quick effect, you can rip a card out of your opponent's extra deck at the right time. You do have to target it with a Link monster though, so it does have a weird kind of effect, but you can target it with Borreload or some of the other Link monsters I'm going to show you, and it does float in the end phase too. So it does destroy itself, but you get to rip a card out of your opponent's extra deck and it floats. So not too shabby. Rocket Tracer allows you to float pretty much any other Rocket monster you want through your deck just by attributing it because of its own effect. This card's name doesn't necessarily make sense because it's supposed to be a bullet. It's supposed to be a bullet tracer round. And same for this, really. This is supposed to be like a silver bullet. What the heck's a silver rocket? That makes no sense. Silver bullet makes a lot more sense. Same for Rocket Tracer. This card, I don't know how to feel about. I considered it pretty decent. Borreload Furious Dragon. I was considering it as a fusion poly, like a super poly target, but it's two Dark Dragons, which is not necessarily the easiest thing anymore, and Thunder Dragons doesn't really end on two Darks as far as I remember, but I might be misremembering. It's a good card. It's just kind of hard to bring out, but I figured it deserved an honorable mention, especially because it has some of the coolest artwork. Another card that does help the Dragon Link deck, and they kind of knew what you were using this structure deck for if they put this card in there. Triple Burst, basically you're just using it to unlink yourself from your guard dragons where you get stuck into dragons. You might not necessarily have to do that in the Dragon Link deck, but it does help because this card was dumb pricey for no reason other than its fact that it's had the right arrows and the right typing. It was just the generic card that we needed at the time. Booster Dragon I really like. It's a good generic card. For the Rocket deck in general, like it's just a card you can use early on, or I guess it's a smaller card that you can use to facilitate your plays instead of cards like Borreload or Zeraboros. You can target a card with its effect to basically trigger like your Silver Rocket Dragon, and also your opponent can't respond, which is pretty decent. Borreload Dragon, just a great card in general. I'm glad they're finally putting some of these better staple cards, especially like extra deck monsters, in these structure decks. This is definitely the right product to put this in because it is related to the, the character that this deck is based on. But I feel like Konami's making the right moves, especially with this product, the Megatons that are coming out, and the Deck Devastator, I guess, pack deck thing. We don't know what it really is, but I think Konami's making a lot of right moves to allow some older players to get back into the game, or to lower the barrier to entry for some newer players as well. Just generically good cards to put in this product, and I'm kind of glad they do. Quad Boral Dragon's pretty decent. Its arrows are alright. I just think it looks good in general. And then the final card is Topologic Zeraboros Dragon. This card is really interesting, and I think we're going to see some degeneracy come about from this, because if you could special summon it, just move this out of the way, to this zone right here, you can actually just use it to lock your extra deck pretty much, and then this banishes every card in the field. Obviously, they could summon more monsters past that point, but it's just one way to get rid of the extra deck, something that your opponent might have to deal with. So it summons itself back as well. There's some utility there. And with that being said, thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. Unfortunately, my battery is dying because this is like the second time I've had to record this, because the first time I opened it, all the cards were loose in here and slightly scratched. So I had to kind of revise it. But thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and let me know what you think about the structure deck in the comments down below. If you did enjoy this video, don't forget to click subscribe because it's free, it's fun, and I'll see you guys in the next one.